Hi everyone, my name is Mark Davison. I'm the Director of Urban Design and Historic Preservation at Boston Architectural College. In my hometown of New Orleans, you can find many examples of Jugaad, from bargeboard houses to novel materials used to replicate the historic slate roofs of the French Quarter. But today, I want to talk about vegetables and food. In the New Orleans downriver neighborhoods, you could often hear Mr. Okra before you could see him. His voice came through a loudspeaker in a song. I have oranges, I have bananas, I have tomatoes, and I have greens. And then you would see his brightly painted truck. It would appear. It would slowly move through the neighborhood. It'd be filled with fresh fruits and vegetables. People would step outside, walk out to the curb, and they bought what they needed. It was ordinary. It was familiar. And it was Jugaad. And by Jugaad, I mean a practical, affordable solution built from what is already at hand. It begins with a real problem and a simple question. What can I do with what I have? And at first glance, Mr. Okra's truck might not look much like design. I'm an urbanist, and I tend to look at systems, how cities function, who they function for, how decisions about land use, transportation, regulations, and investment or disinvestment either create problems or help solve them. So when I looked at Mr. Okra's truck, I didn't just see a colorful produce vendor. I saw a small but effective intervention in the way the city distributed food. To understand that, we have to understand the city he was moving through. New Orleans is one of the great food cities of the world, yet being famous for food is not the same as having equal access to it. Race, income, infrastructure, land use policy, rising rents, and investment patterns shaped which neighborhoods kept grocery stores and which ones did not. The city once supported public markets, just like this one, corner groceries, street vendors, all woven into the residential neighborhoods. Many disappeared under pressures from chain stores, from car-oriented development, higher cost, population loss, and regulations that were written for larger businesses. Some neighborhoods retained supermarkets. Others were left just with convenience stores and fast food, and no places to buy fresh groceries. These places are often called food deserts. And I don't really like that term, because a desert sounds natural, and these conditions were created through human decisions. Some people use the term food apartheid to make the point more clear. Distance here is only part of the problem. 3 miles isn't far when you own a car. It's much further when you're elderly, disabled, caring for children, working multiple jobs, or just carrying groceries in the hot New Orleans sun. Arthur Robinson, known throughout New Orleans as Mr. Okra, was a local celebrity, but he wasn't a hero arriving to rescue anyone. He was a working vendor who knew the streets, the routines, and the people who bought from him. He belonged to an older New Orleans tradition of mobile food vendors. Earlier generations had moved through the city with push carts and wagons and street cries. The push cart became a truck. The street cry became amplified by loudspeaker. But the basic service remained. Then I looked more closely at what Mr. Okra had created. He had taken an ordinary truck, produce crates, a loudspeaker, a route, deep local knowledge, and turned them into a mobile neighborhood market. And that's the real discovery here. The formal food system placed food in fixed locations. Mr. Okra made the market move. His business was lean before the idea of lean business became a phrase. He didn't need a building or a parking lot or equipment or an app. His market was a truck, his produce, the route. The truck carried produce, but the business ran on recognition, repetition, and trust. Customers weren't receiving charity. They were making ordinary purchases from a familiar store that just happened to come to them. Mr. Okra did not solve food insecurity in New Orleans. He reduced the final distance between fresh produce and the household. Some might ask whether this is really Jugaad or simply street vending, and I think the answer lies in the adaptation. Mr. Okra inherited an old practice and adapted it to a changing city through an inexpensive vehicle, simple technology, flexible movement, and local knowledge. That's the Jugaad solution I would redesign. I would create a modular mobile market kit for an existing truck or van or bicycle or handcart. Lock-in crates, shade, lights, mesh covers, a hand washing station, and insulated storage would make the food safer. Standard tubing, weather-resistant fabric, and replaceable parts could make it more durable. Common materials could keep it affordable. We could have free plans for several vehicle types. That could make it easy to replicate, and each vendor could bring their personality to the market, just like Mr. Okra did. The truck could be copied. The trust could not. That would still have to be earned through familiarity, consistency, and respect for the neighborhood. So the goal isn't to turn Mr. Ochre into an app with wheels. The goal is to strengthen the physical system without losing the personality, the community, the low overhead, the flexibility, and the relationships that made it work. Most importantly, we should celebrate the ingenuity of this without celebrating the unequal conditions that made it all necessary. Mr. Ochre's Jugaad was modest. It didn't end poverty or replace grocery stores. What it did was bring fresh food within reach. And that may be the clearest lesson of all. Good design doesn't always arrive as something new. Sometimes it's moving down the street, calling out through a loudspeaker, waiting for us to recognize what can be made possible.